What's up? Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new show that we're bringing here on What's Up TV and also on Ash Thomas on YouTube, guys, if you're tuning in from there. Also, everyone that's tuning in from X, thank you so much for coming through. Make sure you come over to YouTube if you want to like and subscribe and really support us on YouTube as well. So the new show, Down Unders, basically a little double entendre, a little bit of a betting analogy there with the unders and stuff. And obviously, me and my bro here, we are both Australian and, you know, you got the Kiwis and all that sort of stuff. I feel like it's a really cool double entendre. But obviously, a brand new face to the channel, guys. I want to bring in one of my best mates. You know, he's been around me for ages and that, but probably got one of the best footy minds that I know. We bounce off each other all the time about footy and, you know, possibly, you know, I keep saying it to everyone, he's definitely like the best halfback I've ever played with. And I think if other things went his way, you knew I was going to do this to you, bro.
Definitely not. No.
He could have done something, bro. He could have done something. But, you know, shout out to Brody. Everyone, make sure you make him feel welcome. He is a Doggies fan, so we will be touching on the Doggies very shortly too, guys. So I know it's a Warriors channel, but everyone's really nice and get around each other. But Brody, welcome to the show, my man. Probably tell us about yourself and how you fell in love with the Doggies and stuff like that. And yeah, how you fell in love with football, bro. What's the go there?
No, I appreciate being here. I really appreciate the invite. Like you said, sorry, you touched on. We have back and forth all the time at work and can never shut up about talking about the footy. So no, ever since I could basically walk, I remember playing footy out on my footpath with my two older brothers. And by older, I mean a lot older, so 9 and 6 years older. So you never shy away from the big boys. That's what that taught me. So give them a bit of hiding. But since I could touch the footy, I love the Doggies. Hazwan Mazra was my man. And unfortunately, it made me fall in love with New South Wales team as well. Even though I'm born here in Queensland, I know it's backwards. I won't let that one get out too far. But look, back then I didn't realise it meant fully go for your state. I thought it was just enjoy your players and go for the guys that you love seeing in those jerseys. And well, Hazwan Mazra was that for me, even though we only played a couple of Origin games. But that's why it's been Doggies since probably 2002, I'd say.
Yo. Nah, massive fan. And like a couple of things I did want to touch on there. As you said, you know, you used to play footy out there with your older brothers and stuff like that. And they're big boys too, guys. If you know, they're slightly bigger and all that. And Brody is just known, like when you play footy with Brody, there's a lot of like players that like played with Brody and all that. He is known for being, you know, that bloke on the field, that halfback on the field, that snaps big blokes and stuff like that. Every time I'll ever say like, you know, come watch Brody's game, it's just like watching this guy chop guys, you know, work from marker. He works so hard on his defense, but his attacking game's so on point too. But another thing I wanted to touch on too, guys, so you get to see like the caliber of person I'm bringing on the show as well, is the type of players you've played with in the past too, my bro. I feel like that's a cool way to really, you know, show people what you know and who you play with coming up in the grade. But Josh Kerr's a big name that like both of us, like I played against. Obviously you were in my high school team and that, but you know, played against him, but you played with him at Redcliffe. Another one that you played with also is Tyson Gamble and all that too. So, you know, what was it like playing with like players like that growing up and being up there and being competitive with that? Because you were in the Dolphins little system there too for a little bit, but what was it like playing with like top-notch talent like that around Southeast Queensland?
Yeah, Josh Kerr, he's a freak of a talent. And for those that don't know, he never was a front rower. He was always an outside back. And mate, if he was on your side, your instructions as a half was just give him early ball. And as soon as you gave that guy early ball, at 16, he was like the height he is now. So, but just to add a lot more speed, you know. So now he's transitioned to the middle, and he's killing it there for Redcliffe back in the middle. I thought that was a good move for him. Personally, when he went back to the Dolphins, back to his hometown. But yeah, playing with a guy like that, especially from a young age, and seeing how far he got, it's outstanding. You know, it's amazing. It makes you work harder on your game as well. I didn't have too much to do with Tyson Gamble. I never got to share the field with him. Unfortunately, he was my competition coming through the under-20s there at Redcliffe. So obviously he got the nod, but that's fine. But no, it was good. It was good just to even just watch his chat at training. It was a big chatter, and that's probably what took him a long way. He really tried to lead with his mouth, and you see that come out in the NRL games. You know, he's quick to give the guys a serve. So it's great to see those boys come through that ready system. And now that they've got the NRL at Redcliffe there, I'm sure they'll get a lot more young boys come through their system.
100%, man, 100%. And also, you know, before we jump into all the topics that we're going to get through today, you did bring up that you're a New South Wales fan for the Origin and all that. You know, his family bleeds blue as well too, guys. So I don't even think there was even an opportunity for you even to go for Queensland and stuff like that. But you're definitely going to be well loved, because for some reason, the Kiwis just love the New South Wales Blues. Like, yeah, you know, all the Kiwi fans here in the chat, you know, shout out to all you guys in the chat currently right now. Make sure you put in the blue emoji or whatever in the chat if you are a Blues supporter and all that, because I know you're going to get a lot of support from those guys too. But we're going to be definitely touching on a couple of Blues players, and I think that's the best way we can maybe ease into this sort of topic here too. Touching on your Bulldogs and Matt Burton, and you know the form he's getting into overall, coming off a really nice victory, you know, on Monday night, 22-18, bro. Like, what's your thoughts overall on the Doggies currently right now? And then we'll touch on maybe, you know, Matty Burton and like where he's at, and maybe will he have an opportunity in that Blue squad. But first of all, yeah, what's your thoughts overall on the Doggies at the moment this season? You happy with Serraldo? You happy with the way the boys are playing, like the defensive, you know, edge that you've got currently right now? What's your thoughts around your team currently, you know, in the competition right now?
Oh, look, it's nothing but positive at the moment for me, especially, you know, last year or even the year before that. You know, I was quick to load up multis against the Doggies. You know, you'd pick multiple try scorers for the other team, just with the amount of points we would leak. And, you know, you'll just make you know, frustrated. You know, you've been through that with the Warriors. You know, you're starting to see some good years. I think it's just really buying into the success and the game plans that not only, you know, your coach is putting in for you guys, but that Serraldo is putting in for us. You know, they both come from under Ivan Cleary, and I guess they really took their time there to learn a lot. So, yeah, I couldn't be prouder, you know, and the guys, there was a few questionable signings that I thought that were coming on board this year that I wasn't too keen on. I thought, where are we going to fit them? But you know what? They just show up and they do their job. And sometimes, you know, it's great to just have those role players. You know, hard work really does beat talent. If talent doesn't work hard. And that saying shows more and more every day when you got teams like, you know, the Warriors and the Bulldogs, the guys that, you know, don't go out and sign all the big guns like the Roosters. You know, they actually mold their team. And it just shows in Queensland as well that they have all that success just picking role players, and they beat New South Wales, who try and pick this team full of superstars. But as for Burton, I think he's in great form. I still don't know if you pick him for that halves role. I don't think that combination with him and Luai will quite be there both as halves. I think he maybe sneaks a bench spot this week, this second game though. I do believe that. I think he's your best option.
Yeah, I do like the look of, like, you know, because, you know, the whole talking point before the last Origin game was the way that Madge picked his bench and the game plan he was going to run out there with, comparatively to Billy Slater picking, obviously, Selwyn Cobbo on the bench, and, you know, thoughts around that. And the way the game sort of played out, it was a real weird game because due to the send-off and all that happened, you know, the chaos that happened there, you know, we weren't able to see, like, was it really a disadvantage of, you know, Madge's bench, because unfortunately, you weren't able to put anyone else back on there to really cover that role instead. So you weren't able to see if, like, you know, that was able to work. But again, you know, coming in as a Blues fan, would you prefer to have, you know, someone like Matt Burton that can cover the centers and all that on your bench, comparatively to maybe an Ola Kawatu or even a Hudson Young coming into these games here? Like, what's your overall thoughts of the bench role for the Blues coming into the season two of, like, you know, coming to game two? Does he change it maybe to look at Matty Burton to play that 14 role to really cover multiple different positions?
Well, to me, I think you got to have that back on the bench in a big game like Origin. You know, you're picking the
Mm,
best guys as well. I know Origin's a lot quicker, but they're normally guys that can play 80 minutes for club. And I'm not
yeah,
sitting here saying that they can do 80 minutes in Origin just because they do 80 minutes in club. Origin's a different beast. We all know that, but you see Gerbo play 25 minutes. I understand
yeah,
why, because of the sin binning, the disadvantage number. I completely understood why he didn't get the full game time. But even then, you don't need those three back rollers on the bench that they've picked. I think you drop out Hudson Young and you bring in Matty Burton. And if you
yep,
don't bring in Matty Burton, I think you bring in someone like Mitch Barnett.
yep. Yeah, I like that. I
So,
like that. As Warriors fans, I know you're gonna get a lot of love from Warriors fans in the chat for that one. But also, we'll bring it back to the doggies a little bit too, bro. Like, the halves pairing you got currently right now, Toby Sexton and Matty Burton, because I know that was a big thing for the Dogs coming into the season was who's going to be the halves pairing. Like, preferably for me to start the season was Toby Sexton and Matt Burton, but we weren't unable to see that due to Drew Hutchison getting the first nod of that 7 jersey. Who currently right now, have you seen, the start of the season, who do you prefer currently right now as your halves pairing for the future? And do you see that halves pairing of maybe Toby Sexton and Matty Burton, if he is your preferred, running all the way into the finals? Or do you reckon there's maybe another player in there that could be coming up that you're watching out for that might be able to nick that 7 jersey?
I think finals is a big stretch still. I know we're sitting in that 8
Yeah.
at the moment. We got a bye this week, which is handy. And then we've got 3 massive games coming up. We touched base with that before. We even looked at going to that Warriors game down
Yeah.
that's coming up for us. So, but unfortunately, we won't be going to that. But yeah, it's 3 massive games. I think we've got the Warriors, Roosters, and I think we said Sharks. And then another bye. So, if the Bulldogs could jag 2 out of those 3 games, I think, you could potentially look into the finals run. But as for halves pairing, I think Sexton and Burton are the way to go. The way that Sexton really straightens our attack, which comes from Bailey Haywood, really straightening our attack in that middle as well. Really, we can play off the back of it with our centers and Connor Tracy at the back. And I think Connor Tracy's been a blessing for us as well. Nobody really expected him to get the nod for that 1 jersey. It was all Crichton or Tab, but he's really made it his own. And Stephen Crichton has been unreal, especially defensively.
Yeah, he's been unreal, man. He's been unreal. And he definitely killed it. Tracy killed it over the Eels over the weekend too. You just stripped that right edge to bits, that left edge of the Eels defense. They just couldn't contend the speed on the edge with Connor Tracy and how direct you're playing on that side. But with saying that, obviously a great win over the weekend. You've had a couple of really nice moments this season. You came close to, obviously pipping the Panthers, all that sort of stuff. But is there one part of your game or maybe a couple of pieces to your game that you reckon you need to really key in on to really make a push for the finals, as we were touching on before? Like, if you want to be a top 8 team, what's going to get you there? How close are you, and what's going to get you over that little hump to get into the finals? What are you seeing so far?
I think our discipline, I think we're averaging at least, 9-10 penalties a game against us. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're all dodgy penalties and we get we're good. But I think our discipline will cost us in bigger games against better teams. Parramatta, as good as that win was, Parramatta were awful. They couldn't crack our defense, which is a credit to our defense, but they had some really easy drop ball. I think better teams will capitalize on that penalty count that they had against us and win that game. So I did see in the comments before that the Doggies are overachieving, and there could be some truth behind that, I guess. But who's to say, the Dolphins aren't overachieving and stuff like that? You got to show up at the end of the day, whether you're overachieving or not. You got to take what's in front of you, and we're doing that well. The game that stands out for me though is that Canberra game. Dirty about that one, especially coming into finals. That was the 2 points that we should have summed up, and we weren't good enough. So that's probably going to come back to bite us. So yeah, I think our discipline will be a big one that we need to pick up on. The better teams will make us pay. So
yeah, and as we kind of touched on in the backstage too, like, if the Doggies maybe got that victory over the Raiders, they possibly would be a top 4 team currently right now. And especially off their differential, their defense, like, that's probably another tough pill to swallow there, obviously, with that Raiders game. But I still think that usually growing something so special due to your defense. And it's very similar to what we saw earlier with the Warriors and, how we came out and we just stuck to a defensive system to start with to build our combinations and that. And then off the back of that, we found success on our right side attack that obviously come to scrutiny this season here when we had a lot of injuries out and we're trying to go sideways a little bit too much. But last year, what we did so special was we now knuckle down those like effort areas defensively. We were so tough to crack, and the doggies are doing such similar things this season, and you can really see that. And I think maybe that is just a touch of like, Ivan Cleary coming out on Serraldo and, obviously our coach Webby. So, overall, like I think we're all really excited for the doggies this season to see how far they can actually get. Because I don't think you're overachieving at all, because I think the basis of your game is all defensive, and that's attitude. You know what I mean? Like the attacking game, you guys are a decent attack. Like I felt like your attack's grown so far this year and all that, but defensively, I don't think you can overachieve defensively. If you knuckle down, you hold teams like that, right? I feel like that's like, it's not overachieving. That's you guys coming together as a group. And that's exactly what we did last year. If you want to call the Warriors last year overachievers, some people probably would say that too, but defense is really where it shows, and that's attitude, bro. So, it's really, really good to see.
All right. No, you're spot on. I think you're 100% right there.
Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%. Yeah. Moving on to that, guys, we're going to touch on a couple of other big topics, coming into the league. But also, before I get into that, 44 viewers currently right now in the chat. Feel free to like and subscribe if you are on YouTube. Appreciate all you guys are coming through. Obviously, the new show, Down Under. So we're going to be bringing you, the big topics in rugby league, the NRL every week. We're going to touch on all the big talking points. And I think there's no bigger talking point coming into, this week than the West Tigers and really what's going on at the West Tigers. Obviously coming off a massive defeat over the weekend, 56-14. But the massive news that really come out of it, first of all, I want to touch on your thoughts overall on the Lachlan Galvin situation here. And before I really throw it over to you, I just want to read out a couple of things as, came out from the media. So there's looking at a news story here, the West Tigers have promised to extend the contract of booming Lachlan Galvin for 2026 onwards, but he drops a request for a immediate release. A lot of the talking point, coming into it was, he wanted to go to the Panthers, but then there's all these news stories coming out that he's saying in the sheds, whether it's true or not, I'm not too sure. I know a lot of fans out there are really, questioning if it is true, but, saying in the sheds as an 18-year-old saying, I can't wait to get out of this club. Like, touch on your thoughts overall on a young player like that, thinking he has the ability to go around and have this chat around him when he's so young. He's yet to really, put his name in sand in first grade. But also, like, what's your thoughts overall on the Tigers situation, how they're like, the aura around the club currently right now, they just can't get past this whole thing of losing on the field and losing off the field currently right now. So what's your overall thoughts, first of all, on Lachlan Galvin and that whole situation, then the Tigers as a club right now?
Oh, mate. This is what annoys me the most. Like, look, we're going to assume that all the accusations are correct and this is all happening, all right? We don't know the truth behind it, but we'll say that it is true and he's acting this way. To me, it's disrespectful not only to the Tigers, but to the game. Like these guys that aren't honoring their contracts, it absolutely annoys the shit out of me. There's guys out there that would give an arm and a leg to play one game of first grade. And, this kid's played 6. He's 18. Benji Marshall gave him the call, gave him a crack. Basically is laying him up to be playing next to Luai next year. And he's turning around and doing this at the age of 18. I hope that it's not true for his sake. The kid showed a lot of talent and I don't want his reputation to be gone. But if it is, I think it's really disrespectful, not only, as I said, to the Tigers, but to rugby league. Anybody would love that opportunity. If anything, it should motivate you more to be like, I want to be the guy to turn this club around. And that's your bragging point to offer for more money out there, not be like, I want to get out of my contract early. I want to go to this team, that team. That's not how it works. They need to come back to the point where they honor their contracts. And I hope that the Tigers do put their foot down with it, because they've been burnt in the past by letting go of Moses, Teddy, the likes of those guys. So as a club for the Tigers, I really hope they do put their foot down and just bench him, put him in New South Wales Cup. It's just the way it should go. A contract should be a contract for a reason.
Yeah, 100%. And like, overall, like, it's just so crazy to me to see that this situation is happening, especially, I know there's, their key players out with injury and stuff, but when you still have players like, not so much Isaiah Papali'i, but the Englishman, bro, my mind's going blank currently right now. Yeah, John Bateman, bro. When you got a bloke like John Bateman at a club that usually, he's known for the hard edge of just like, playing football the right way. He's got energy. He's got effort. Like to be talking like that as an 18-year-old when you have John Bateman at a club, I'm sure John Bateman would have pulled him aside and be like, hey, mate, like, what are you doing? Like, this is not the culture we want to build at the Tigers. And for some reason, the Tigers just can't get past this little point right now of like losing games on the field. They're making some crazy decisions and all that sort of stuff. But also like, it just feels like that sometimes, the media grab a hold of something too, and like they go all in on something like this, they're always in the talk in the media. It's just like, it's so tough for the Tigers to get away from, that club at the moment, just getting bashed down on top of, and having Lachlan Galvin come and do this does not help at all, one bit. And especially when he brings up names like the Panthers and stuff like that. And it's just, it's a crazy move. Again, like, we hope it's not true. It just doesn't reflect good in his eye, like, overall in his character. But like, as you said, Benji and the West Tigers gave him the opportunity. They had an opportunity to start the season with Bud Sullivan and Aiden Caesar if they wanted to, or even Latu Fainu or, and Aiden Caesar. There's so many other halves pairings they went with, but they saw a lot of hope with this young kid that he was going to be the next guy up. And for this to happen at the moment is like a real, like, it's a downfall. Like it's a crash and burn. And it really sucks to see when they've cleared out their management. They just can't get over this hump currently right now of all the media circling, players wanting to leave. Like, it's really, really crazy. But moving on with that too, touching on the Tigers overall, bro, like where do you think they're really going on wrong on the football field? Because I know winning does change the culture of a football club. And maybe, they really need to knuckle down and try and get a win and really change the perception around the club and give some positivity back to the fans. Where are you seeing on the football field currently right now where the Tigers are really lacking and where they need to really focus in on for the next coming weeks to even get some positivity back at the club?
I definitely think they're struggling in their outside backs. They've got a good couple of young forwards coming through that are giving their all. With the injuries in their forward pack as well, it's going to be a lot harder. With Clemmer out, Bateman out, Papali'i out, all those type of guys out in the middle really does make it a bit tougher, but even when they're getting good ball zone, they're not capitalizing. Their outside backs are underperforming for me. And I do think there's a bit of truth behind Api Coruscant playing injured. And now looking at it that he's moved to half this week, I think that they may be trying to get him to lead and guide the team around a bit more without having to do that defensive work in the middle. You touched base before me with the error count of Api Coruscant leading the way. I think that'll be due to how many tackles he's having to make in that middle. So I think moving him to the half, I don't think they're going to turn their season around by any means, but I think that's trying to get your best player to be the freshest to guide that team around. So I think that's going to be a good move. He's not a genuine half. No, he's a better hooker. But at the moment, with the halves that they've got left to choose from with injuries and other things, I think he's probably the best one you can get. His kicking game might do them justice, but I think it's their centers and their wings that are letting them down at the moment. I really do.
Yeah, 100%. Like, as you sort of touched on too, but like what helps your argument as well is, their ill disciplines really let them down. Like, they're the seventh worst team currently right now for their error rate in the season, 10.3 errors per game. But what really nails it down too, because I did a little stats deep dive on it, is who is creating most of their errors. And, I know a lot of being an outside back coming up, I wasn't that great at footy, that personally and all that. But, being outside back, you know that your main job is to hold on to the ball and do what you can, like finishing ability. You're supposed to be the guy that have the skill set of, creating with your hands, but also, the forwards are working hard in the middle to get you to a point where you score the tries. That's like a lot of the errors should be coming into the middle, and your backs are supposed to be your least error affected sort of part of your team as well. But 4 of the back line currently right now is top 10 for their errors. And then if you add Bud Sullivan and Lachlan Galvin, that's 7 of those players that are all in the top 10 right now for their errors. And leading the way currently, as we just touched on before, is Api Coruscant. And I think a lot of Api Coruscant really is off the back of him trying too hard to really, lead the team. He's trying to get moments in the game, like kickstart something, but it's just not happening. But, names of like Charlie Staines, I'm pretty sure, is the second worst error rate for the West Tigers currently right now. You got Brent Naden, Dream Buller, and Justin Olem. Like, a lot of those players, like Justin Olem, more experienced, probably needs to clean his game up overall. This is maybe what the Melbourne Storm saw out of him as well. But players like, Staines, like if he wants to really continue in first grade, because he's had moments that, like we saw moments at the Panthers where people saw something out of him, he's really fell off, you know what I mean? Like we agree, like there's not much really there. But if you want to stay in first grade, you want to do the little 1%ers right, as you touched 100%. On before, when we started. Tyson Gamble does a lot of the little things right, and that's what got him to first grade. His talks 100%. Good, he defends fairly well. Like Charlie Staines needs to learn that part of the game and not just be the speedster on the edge that tries something out of nothing and create too many errors, and put the forwards on the back foot that are trying their ass off to get him a good field position. And then off the back of that too, they're the third worst team at conceding penalties right now at 6.1 a game. Like that's, combine that with errors is the reason majority of why they just can't get anything going. And then add on the top of that too, just their attack, bro. Like their attack is toothless at the moment. I felt like they missed Aiden Caesar for a good period there. His kicking game, the experience of them getting around the park and that. But it just seems like as soon as they get into the opposite side of the field, they don't really have a good structured game plan to get him to the points they need to get to open up those creative players too. So it's kind of like so many different things going wrong there. And maybe what's your thoughts overall on Benji? And it sucks to say, Benji is supposed to be their future, right? That's the reason why the Tigers did it. And I think the Tigers want to get away from being the team that go, toothless. They want to get away from being the team that is so reactionary and just chuck people out and bring people in and just, chop and change and that. But is Benji maybe over his head currently at the West Tigers? It's not on Benji. Like the West Tigers is not the best club to go to for as a first-time coach. But what's your thoughts overall at Benji and how he's dealing with this whole situation currently right now?
To sum it up, I think Jacko hit the nail on the head. I think they should bring Brad Arthur in, that experienced coach that's been there. He's taken the Eels to that grand final. They didn't win, but he got them there. He's had that plenty of finals experience. I think you bring him in and you drop Benji back to assistant and a halves coach and really get him to mold. If Lachlan Galvin sticks around next year, hopefully he does, mold him with that Luai combination. And then, you hopefully get that strike back of Adam Dewey in the center role with Dream Buller if he sticks around. And I did see that, the other guy that's going to the Panthers, Asu, that signed, I think it was yesterday or today. Big loss, another young one that's going to be gone. So if I was the Tigers, I'd be going out there and headhunting for some guys that bring attitude, that good work ethic attitude. It's no secret the Bulldogs went after, a lot of Panthers players, but there's a reason for that. They're part of that championship culture. I think Benji is a bit over his head. There's guys in the comments saying no experience, not qualified. I completely agree. I love Benji. He's a great mastermind, but you don't see, you look at how Brad Fittler did for Origin, good footy player, not so much a good coach. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing as well. He probably should have took on a New South Wales Cup team or the assistant role first. And I think they got a good opportunity now to grab Brad Arthur. I like Brad Arthur. And really get that steering in the right direction. And hopefully, he's got the respect of a lot of players that he might be able to draw some attention as well to follow him. So,
yeah, I do like that thought too. And when you got players like Jerome Luai coming over, you got Sudi Taruva coming over next year and that, you want the club as settled as possible. So when those guys come in, they can take the next step and really bring this club with them. But also if you have a coach like Brad Arthur there too, he can instill that effort with all the other player base to help out players like Jerome Luai and that they can very easily get unsettled going to the West Tigers and trying their heart out. you know, there's Lachlan Galvin currently, being a rookie. I don't want to add I don't like the story of Lachlan Galvin wanting to get out of his contract, but him wanting to get out just kind of proves it's like what the feeling is with the Tigers currently right now, and they need someone to steady the ship. And unfortunately, when you're a rookie head coach, it's really tough to look around all your players there and say, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to get you there. You know what I mean? Like he can get you there as a player, 100%. But as a head coach, like, can he get them there? That's the big thing too. Yeah. So I think the Tigers definitely got some big things to think about, bro. You got any last thoughts on the Tigers there?
Nah, that sums up for me. Chase Brad Arthur, and I'll chase him hard. He's going to bring a couple of those good Eels guys that we'll probably want out, depending on who coaches those. Those talks, little whispers around Dylan Brown potentially wanting to leave. There's going to have the bit of that happening now that Brad's gone. So I think you sign him and you watch a couple of guys who will really want to play under the likes of Brad Arthur. But for now, unfortunately, I think Benji's too much of a mate to them. And that's why he's getting the results he's getting. But he will be a good coach in the future. Just unfortunately, it's not right now.
Yeah. And so with the West Tigers, let's move on to another team that was down in the dumps, but it has now found a little bit of form too, and they have superstars in their team that know how to break a game open. They probably don't have the effort plays that the Tigers need as well, but they have those game-breaking players that just seem to change a game. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, obviously coming off back-to-back wins, notable win, obviously last weekend. Sorry, mate, I'm bringing it up. Obviously last weekend there against the Titans, 46-12. Latrell Mitchell absolutely branding it out there with Cody Walker. It was really good to see that halves pairing of Cody Walker and Jack Whiten. I know it's too late. Statistically, they can make the 8. I don't think they will, but they're probably going to trouble a ton of teams that are trying to chase for that 8, especially in the back end of the year. What's your thoughts around the South Sydney Rabbitohs currently right now? Are they building to really grow into a team that when Wayne Bennett takes over next year, he can take them back into the promised land, being a top 4 team, top 8 team, that sort of talk? And also your thoughts around the halves pairing of, Cody Walker and Jack Whiten. Should they have started with that halves pairing, or, what's your thoughts overall on the South Sydney Rabbitohs currently right now?
I think the news of Wayne Bennett even signing has made all the difference to that South Sydney club. And I think that's hard done by for Demetrius. I feel like no matter what he would do, it was the system he was dealing with. The system ran him. He didn't run the system. But the news of Wayne Bennett alone signing has made those players spark up. And the players that I'm talking about is Latrell and Cody Walker. They were obviously the key influence in that win on the weekend. And I think, you're right. They're probably not going to make the finals now. It's going to be a tough run, but they will upset a lot of teams, and they'll position themselves nicely when they get, the likes of Murray back next year and get those guys fit. They'll be good next year. They'll be sweet. As for the half pairing, I think as soon as Lockie Ilias went down, Jack White was the man to move to half straight away. He's a Daily M half winner. Questionable or not. He was a Daily M Player of the Year in the halves, so he was the man for me straight away that you'd move to half. Cody Walker plays free range of the field anyway. He's not a left edge player, so that should have been the first move I would have made. Straight away. You want your best guys having their hands on the ball, not buried out in the centers. So.
Yeah, and Tan's got a really cool point. Shout out, Tans. You're always there with the chat and all that. Graham and Murray due back soon, so that'll strengthen their attack and defense, all-round game plan. And to add on top of that, I think Junior Totola's close to coming back off injury there too. Like their forward pack starts to strengthen a little bit more because obviously they're playing with Galon Matangi for in the middle now, which I've felt like he's done a good job in the middle, but preferably you probably want Galon Matangi on the edge as well. Yeah, he's pretty good, solid in the middle there too. But obviously missing Saliva Havili, Tavitas Totola, as I said before, and obviously Lockie Ilias, Ty Munro and all that. But what sort of impact do you reckon someone like Cam Murray, who is due back this weekend, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he might be on the team list as well. I'll just quickly check that so I can fact check it. He is off the bench this weekend, mate. What's your thoughts on Cam Murray and the impact he can really give to the Rabbitohs? And maybe, is there a chance that Cam Murray can find himself in a Blues jersey if he has a great performance and really turns him back around? Like, is there a spot for Cam Murray in the Blues jersey?
Oh, mate, if Cam Murray's fit, there's always a spot for him in a Blues jersey, without a doubt. He's the captain of the Rabbits for a reason, such a big club. And he's the captain at such a young age, and it's because of the leadership he shows. I think you don't pick him for game 2, despite how he plays this week. I think you leave him to really get fit. And then depending on how you go with injuries, you look at him for game 3. But for me, you leave him to really just focus on his game, get fit. He's probably coming back early as well to try and get the Rabbits keep going forward. But yeah, he's massive. Honestly, he is massive. And I feel like you move Keon straight back to an edge. And to me, it should be the right edge. That's what I think the Rabbits did wrong at the start of the year. They moved him to the left edge where they already had so much strike, which took away Lockie Ilias's ability to attack down that right edge. You know, Campbell Graham was injured, and then they moved Keon. And then they go and blame Ilias on why he's not scoring points. You took away his 2 biggest weapons on why he was so good last year for the Rabbits and moved it to the left edge, where as soon as Walker was having a bad game, Keon, Whiten, and the Johnson aren't going to get no ball. And they wonder where they went wrong. So to me, that was just a no-brainer. But Cam Murray back, for your first question, is massive.
Oh, bro, it's huge. It's huge. Just that guy from the middle, man. He's quick playable speed. He can even play that link man as well. He's like one of the he's the perfect lock in the new game, the new era. You know, he's hard work from the middle. His tackle ability as well. Like he'd be perfect for the Blues currently right now. And it's like, we'll get onto it, you know, in the coming weeks too, bro, with the Origin teams. I'm really excited to do that with you as well, like, because I know you got some great shouts to the Origin squad as well. But yeah, I can't wait to see if Cam Murray is able to crack that squad and all that as well. Is that the last little thoughts you reckon you got around the South Sydney Rabbitohs? Actually, before we get into it, we talked a little bit about Origin. Latrell Mitchell, is he your centre coming to your next game too? I know we're going to talk a little bit more on it, but I think there's a good talking point with the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the form that Latrell's showed himself in, obviously coming back. Is he going to be in that center position, you reckon, bro? Like, what's your thoughts overall?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
You put him that left edge. You know, despite what form Latrell was in this year, I feel like he probably should have got looked at a lot more serious, but he needed to also come out and say, I'm committed. I want that Blues jersey. And I think that's what Madge wanted from him. And he didn't say that in his performances or verbally. But I think now in his performances, if he gets that call, he will take it. And I think that will actually be the best thing the Blues could do, moving Critter to that right edge and bringing Latrell into that left edge. It's a no-brainer for me with Suaalii out. I thought Ramian might have had a bit of a stint there, and Ramian hasn't been bad, but I definitely think Latrell gets the nod.
100%, bro. 100%. I've definitely had that with you. Like, as a Queenslander, I'd hate to see Latrell on that side, but also I'd love to see it too, because I'm sick of having these victories lately too, where there's a little bit of asterisks. Like, I know, like last couple of years, right? You got like Tommy Turbo's out, you got Latrell's out. Like, you're not at full strength. You had no Nathan Cleary for a couple of periods there. Obviously, no Nathan Cleary for this period here too. No Latrell in that, but we want to play the best Blues team you can have on paper. And for me, like the scariest Blues team I have on paper has Latrell on that side. Like Latrell's just shown multiple different times that he can break a game out of nothing. And preferably, I know you agree with me as well. Like he is preferably a center. Like I rate him more so as a center. He's probably best for the Rabbits currently right now at fullback because of the way they structured their team around him. Like you could probably maybe bring, Ty Munro back off injury as a fullback and push him to a center and look at it that way too. But, in the Blues jersey or in representative, he is a center and he's like honestly the best center in the game when he plays his game. So man, it'd be such a scary sight just seeing Latrell get out there for the Blues and especially down in the series. Like I just know that he'll pull something out of nothing, man. Like he's unreal. But before we get into our tips and all that for the weekend, my brother, we're going to talk about the Broncos too, man. And I know the Broncos have gone from everyone top 4 team, everything was going to be right. They're probably going to go back to back into trying to get into the grand final to take down the Panthers, to be the team to take down the Panthers. A lot of people thought that, but a couple of injuries have sidelined them for a little bit. They're Adam Reynolds being out for a little while now, but back-to-back losses, one off a injury-riddled Titans team, 36-34, and the next one with the Sharkies, 22-12. What's going wrong with the Broncos currently right now? What are you seeing with the Broncos that is falling apart? And where they can really change their game plan or maybe personnel to really help them get back on the horse? Or maybe is injuries just enough of an excuse to say why the Broncos aren't performing to their high standards of what everyone had them to start the season?
I think it's definitely the injuries. I think if you're a Broncos fan, as much as I hate to say it, don't panic. as long as the Broncos, scrape into that top 6, they will go very deep into the finals. If not making that grand final again, as long as they get a home final, if they finish, 5th or 6th, but if they finish 7th or 8th and find themselves on the back of a final game not at home, they might be in some trouble. But they've got enough points in them. We know that. They're missing Walsh, Reynolds. Those guys are a key for so many of their points. Everything comes off the back of them attack-wise, and their defense is just not up to standard. The Titans game is a big one where you've seen how bad their defense can be. They scored plenty of points in that game, but again, lost that game. The Sharks one, you don't read into that too much. Coming back from Origin, their stars were obviously a bit fatigued. Yes, there was no Hines, but Braden Trindle's really making that spot his own. So,
yeah, 100%, bro. Like, I did feel like maybe that Sharks game, the only thing I could take out of the Broncos currently right now, and this is I feel like they can't change it too much because it probably takes away from what makes the Broncos, but when they seem to get behind on the scoreboard, they do rely back onto just them being that flary side that's going to get it done from the back end. They rely on those like really long shifts. They'll kicking hard for Ezra Mim. I felt like that happened a lot with the Sharks game where when they were down, obviously, 22-12, they had a moment there. They had a lot of ball coming out of their back end, but the forwards were trying to lay a platform, but it felt like every time they wanted to get around the Sharkies instead of trying to set themselves up in good field position, like a good kicking game, turn them around. Like, I feel like that's what Adam Reynolds probably brings. It probably alludes to what your point 100%. Is with the injuries. Like, it probably helps more so at that, bro. Like the settling of the ship and all that. But defensively, I feel like they've lacked a little bit this year as well in moments. Like, they had an amazing game in moments of that Sharks game for holding the Sharks out as best they could. But I feel like their game plan overall really goes with the whole, like, I'm going to throw the ball, I'm going to be the better team, like, go around you. But sometimes when you get yourselves with a team like the Sharkies that are like, I'm just going to pepper you for however long, we're going to win the field position. Like the Panthers are the best at, obviously. Yeah. Like, is there any problems? Should they start looking at changing their game plan? Should they start looking at maybe become a bit more of like, ease back on the long cutouts from the back end? You got your strike weapons at the back end and all that, but just focus on getting yourself into good field position, then use your back end, like your strike players like Walshy and currently, Tristan Saylor even. Like, what's your thoughts overall on their game plan? Is it too flary for the traditional, game plan at NRL, or is that what makes the Broncos and they'll live and die by the sword there with their attacking game plan?
Yeah, it's like you just said, you live and die by it. It's such a momentum thing. If you try all those flashy plays, they look great when they come off. But when it comes down to rolling up your sleeves, man, they shy away from it, and there's no sugarcoating that. And then an error will come, and their momentum just goes to nothing. It's all good and well to win by 30, 40. It's those tough games that you got to win by 2s and 1s. That's really going to make or break your season. When it comes close, mate, the teams are pipping the Broncos. If it's not a blowout and the Broncos give the other team a sniff that they're in the game, they're going to come over the top of them because that flair, that spark and flair is not always going to be there. And I really feel like the Broncos need to get back to that. Not so much a power game, but they really need to earn the right to go wide. And it's all laid off the platform of your middles. Haas has been great, but other than Haas, I haven't really seen much through their middles at all, in my opinion. And I think that's where they're lacking to set up that flair. And then, the comments going wild for Reynolds. It's definitely Reynolds' kicking game. I really think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just like, the only reason why I bring up, the whole thought of their game plan too is like when you got forwards like, Payne Haas, Paddy Carrigan, that we know that can roll up the sleeves, get you into good field position. I feel like when you're down on the scoreboard, you want to rely on them to get into your good field position before you start using your strike players. 100%. I felt like, this is probably nitpicking more so on just the Sharks game, but I felt like I've seen it for a couple of other games this season as well, is where when they get themselves behind on the scoreboard, they just go, all right, we're just going to continue just play out the back. And even sometimes they do it more so thinking that, like, instead of going back to give it to Payne Haas, getting to make those, 15-meter carries, Paddy Carrigan off the back of that, set yourself in a good field position and strike there when the iron's hot. But it just seems like they're such a team that are stuck with, I just want to go around you. I want to be the guy to make a 3-man cutout. Yeah. I want to be the guy to kick it downfield and really, Ezra Mann's known for it. Everything off the cuff is Ezra Mann's game. Like, he loves that. Yeah. He lives for that. when you don't have Adam Reynolds that is just going, boys, let's just roll out the sleeves, get into good field position and change the momentum, those moments will come. But I feel like the Eels game, again, like we'll touch on the Eels game too, you know, when they played the Eels, majority of that game, I felt like the Eels game plan was incredible. Like they were really putting it against the Broncos. What hurt them was obviously those drop balls in those moments, and the Broncos just so used to being that team of like, bang, we can turn the contest on you because we know we are better than you with the attacking ability.
Exactly.
But I feel like sometimes that can falter you too when you come up against really top competition like the Panthers, like the Melbourne Storm, you know, those teams that are like, we'll live and die in the contest. We won't be the side that wants to go around you and all that sort of stuff. But I think that's a really interesting topic, because if they don't get it right now, like they're going to quickly fall out of that 8 discussion and want to get back into the 8. Like they're currently sitting 8th right now with a 7-6 record. You know, the Cowboys we touched on before the thing, like if they had a bye, they'll be around about where they are currently right now with 7-7. The Dragons are 7-6. The Warriors are 6-1-6. The Seagulls are 6-1-6. Like these are all the teams that are nipping at them on their heels. You know what I mean? And this is supposed to be a top 4 team that's supposed to be the team to take down the Panthers. Like it's
100%.
Even without Reynolds, like it's a really interesting thought. Like if they don't do it now, they may lose their opportunity to get into the finals to prove when Reynolds comes back to do that.
You know, that's 100% right, brother. You hit the nail on the head. They can win the games when they're in front, but when it comes to rolling up their sleeves, they're shying away from that. And you know, they're going out there and not adjusting what's in front of them. And you could have the best backline in the world, but if your forwards don't go forward, or you know, you're getting matched by a just as good defensive outside back team, you're not gonna come over the top of them. You know, you need to adjust and find the weaknesses in the team, but they don't offer much points through the middle. You know, I don't know their stats on their back rowers scoring tries, but I definitely know their front rowers don't score many tries. Whereas you look at teams like the Warriors, even the Doggies at the moment, they're scoring, you know, their back rowers and their fronties. If they're weak in the middle, then that's where they attack. It's not our game plans to shift. It's not all about that. Whereas the Broncos, I feel like they're getting that one-dimensional at the moment with the shift, as you touched on. And I think they will find it tough coming into finals where the big games do matter. There's no next week, you know, because at the moment there's always next week for the Broncos. We'll make it back next week. We'll show up next week. It's not going to be next week in about another 12 weeks' time. So
yeah, I think the biggest point to end that off too, bro, is like, you know, you can have the best attack in the world. That's so slick. Like the Titans are a certain team that I know that their attack is so lethal at times, but that's what creates them to be so inconsistent, is they believe in it so much. You know what I mean? Like their attack's going to get them home, but the best teams in the competition, the ones that win premierships, are defensive-based teams, like the Panthers. You know, those sort of sides. Like the Panthers have been the best team for how long, and they've also been the best defensive team for how long now? Like I feel like the Broncos had that last year where they just knew that they had the ability to attack, but they also were like, we're just going to stay solid defensively too, and you won't break us that way. I feel like they've lost that in a touch this year. I don't know what it is, but I feel like they're falling in love with their attacking game plan. I feel like that's a similar thing that you see in the competition with like the Cowboys. Like the reason why the Cowboys, I know they're 7-7, we're touching on before, like they're so close to the 8 as well, but they haven't had the best year. And I feel like it's because they fell in love with their attacking football. But what made them so special in 2021, I think from memory, is when they made the 8, or 2022. Was their defense. Like their defense was unreal. So I think the Broncos need to sort those sort of parts of their game too, get to a game plan first and then play off the back of that. And that's what will open up everything else, because they got the strike across the park. It's just getting
100%.
themselves in a good field position to do that. You know what I mean?
100%, brother. That's spot on. Like I said, if they're top 6 to the finals, you would hate to be playing them in a knockout game with just how much arsenal they have on attack. But unfortunately, defense does win you games, especially in the game we're in now. Defense is number 1.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. And one more topic before we go into our punters paradise for the weekend, guys. Also, you know, if you know Brody personally, guys, he is a mad punter and all that too. So I know he's shaking his head.
I don't know what he's talking about, man. I'm a responsible gambler, right?
He loves the punt, so I thought I brought on the perfect person for the show too for that. But before we get into that, I know there's not a lot of news really what the full story is going into this one too, and like we spoke about it a little bit today, but the talk around Brendan Smith and, you know, him breaching his contract with, you know, the Roosters, or not turning up to a mid-season team review or a team celebration or whatever is going on there. is there any more we should be starting to look into this? Because I know there's a lot of rumors with so many other things going on, with the Roosters. And does this linger? Maybe are the Roosters unhappy with Brendan Smith? Like, is there maybe something deeper to this too? Like, could he find himself on the market? And we'll probably allude to that a little bit later on. Like, who is on the market that could take Brendan Smith if this was the case? But first of all, Brendan Smith, like, I know you haven't read, like, there's not a lot on it, but what's your thoughts on this breaching of the contract and how the Roosters and Brendan Smith's like relationship is currently right now?
Like you said, there's not a lot on it, but I think, the Roosters just being the big club they are, they pay the top dollar. They want their guys to show up to all this sort of stuff and really buy into the system that the Roosters put on. So I think that's why there might be some noise around it to begin with. That's where I think that's sort of coming from. As for Brendan Smith finding himself on the market, I think you could potentially see that. I feel like the Roosters game plan, the way that they've shifted, especially where they're finding success in the last 3-4 weeks, is playing off the halves, first receiver. They've moved Victor Radley to the edge to bring in the halves playing that first receiver role, which limits what Brendan Smith's going to do from hooker as well. So he's going to find himself just being a dispenser and a tackler. So I think that doesn't suit to how Brendan Smith also wants to play his game. It wouldn't surprise me if you see him maybe potentially either link back up with Melbourne and Bellamy or a team like potentially Parramatta, who could really use a good hooker and get the forwards going forward that Parramatta have got in their arsenal. So,
yeah, Parramatta's an interesting one. I haven't actually thought about Parramatta too much. Like, I know Parramatta are definitely due for, getting a good hooker. And it probably should have been the first name to really pop off for me. But I think the biggest thing is, like, have you been impressed with Brendan Smith's form with the Roosters? And would you say that maybe that's more so the Roosters game plan, or would you say that's more Brendan Smith's ability to, step up for the Roosters? Like, would you say that, like, is there, I don't want to say like a harsh term, but is Brendan Smith not, proving his worth at the Roosters? Like, they bought him for a decent contract. They got him off the Storm. Like, would you want Brendan Smith at your club currently right now, seeing the way he acts and all that? I don't really want to push that too much on it, but what's your thoughts on him? Yeah. And is it him or the Roosters? What do you reckon?
It's tough, man, because do you say, is it Tawari Martin, or do you say it was the Warriors system? It's just really hard to tell what role your coach wants you to play. And at the end of the day, no matter what the fans think, if a guy is getting told to play a certain role, he has to play that role. At the end of the day, the fans aren't the ones picking the team each week that he's going to keep his jersey on his back because he's out here scoring tries and stuff. If he's not playing that role, the coach will drop him. That's unfortunate. Yeah. That's how it is. So we could sit here and say, his form hasn't been up to scratch. But I think with Brendan Smith's game, what you potentially look at to judge his performance is his tackles to missed tackles. You look at that and maybe his errors. Not so much of the flashy stuff that we used to see from Brendan Smith, which was scoring tries at Melbourne, scooting and making line breaks. I think he's been told to put that in the back pocket and to really feed Luke Keary and Sam Walker. I think that's the direction the Roosters are trying to play. So I don't know how much you can buy into Brendan Smith's form. Just like Tawari Martin. I mean, like, I was quick to be like, this dude needs to do more. I think he's the reasons for the Warriors' few losses there in a row. And am I quick to eat my words on how quick he's come out and turned that around. And he's been playing outstanding because he's playing that first receiver role, and it just depends on the type of system your coach wants you to play. At the end of the day, he's the one you need to please. So, that's my thoughts on Brendan Smith. I think that he's a great competitor. I think we've really got to dig into his defensive stats to judge how he's going as a hooker.
Yeah. And we'll probably look into that more in the future too, my bro. Like, if this news story does more so come out, we will start digging more deeply into teams he'll suit and stuff like that. And I know there might be a couple of Warriors fans out there who'll be like, bring him home. But, you got so many other teams. As you said, the Eels could be looking for something like that. Even the Raiders, the Raiders probably could suit him as well. If they get his defense back, I'm sure Ricky will get the best out of him as well too. There's so many other teams that he could look at going. But if the Roosters get it right, like, theoretically, like, in your head, you're just like, if he plays his game plan with, tiring forwards in the middle, I know he has to play off the deck a lot of times, but it could suit him to the ground too as well. But it also does take away some of his best threats, is running out of dummy half and taking that ball away from, Sammy Walker. So you definitely hit a key point there too. So, and seeing this weekend, obviously being dropped this weekend, you got a guy like Connor Watson that's come in and he's been unreal. I think Connor Watson's coming back off injury too now. Obviously he's been out for a little bit. So, would he find it hard getting back into that 9 jersey too? Obviously with Connor Watson there. And that adds into like, we'll probably talk about it in the future too, like Connor Watson maybe for an Origin jersey or whatever like that. But Connor Watson or Brendan Smith, you know what I mean? Like, what's your thoughts as like if you're a Roosters head coach at the moment, from what you see out of those two, like which way would you go currently right now?
It depends on the system, again, you're going for. But to me, they should just copy and paste what Melbourne did with Harry Grant. You start Brendan Smith that hooker role. After that 20, 25 minutes, bring on Connor Watson, take on that hooker role, move Smith to front row. He kills it at front row as well. He just brings that defensive energy. It takes that bit of pressure off him where he's having to just dispense. Because Brendan Smith's a competitor. We've seen that Brendan Smith's a competitor. He loves to get involved in the game, and unfortunately, he's not getting involved in the game, passing off the deck. So I would still go Brendan Smith over Connor Watson, and Connor Watson is a great player. I'd put him on the bench. He just fills so many holes, and I definitely think if he wasn't injured for game 1, he would have been potentially in my New South Wales squad over Hudson Young. So that's where I rate Connor Watson's season this year so far.
He is a freak, man. He is a freak. I appreciate everyone in the chat currently right now. You're all going crazy. You're all unbelievable and all that. We got 71 viewers currently right now on either Wise Up TV, Ash Thomas on YouTube, or also Wise Up TV on X. So thank you so much, guys, for all tuning in so far. We're going to get into our punters paradise for the weekend. So as you know, we're going to go through our tips starting off with. We'll go through each and every game, our thoughts overall on both teams coming into this matchup, and then we'll run into our value bets over the weekend. And I would love to also preference too, guys, that if you are jumping on the sports bet and on the punting, guys, please make sure you gamble responsibly. Don't go crazy with it and all that sort of stuff. So, it's going to be a really interesting weekend overall. We got the first game here, guys. The Sharks versus the Dolphins at PointsBet Stadium. Looking at both these sides here, not too many ins, not too many outs here. For the Sharkies tonight, a lot of ins, obviously. Heminuele comes back onto the bench. Nico Hines, obviously a big in that 7 role. Looking at the Dolphins, very interesting team lineup here, but Felice Kafusi, the hammer, comes back. Cody Nicolima comes back also. And then obviously filling in, like, their front row pairing, bro, is Kenny Bromwich and Felice Kafusi. That seems so small. And then when you back of that, like you got Josh Kerr, Marky Nichols off the bench, but then you have Ray Stone and Kurt Donahue. Like, where's your mindset coming into this game, and who are you chipping in this contest here?
Well, I think when you look at the ladder, you got second versus fourth. You think it would be a close, on the odds, on the gambling odds. We're talking about betting here. So, and then when you really buy into it, they got the Sharks at $1.34 compared to the Dolphins $3.30. You might look at that and go, that's great value for the Dolphins. But unfortunately, to me, Cronulla's got a young, hungry pack that's going to roll through them for 80 minutes. And you've just said it yourself, Kenny Bromwich playing up front with Felice. They're normally back rollers, and I'm not saying they're defenses, but I mean, Kafusi is probably one of the best one-on-one defenders in the game. But with that said, they're going to get tired, and the Sharks will roll through them. And I think those odds are warranted now with the Sharks at $1.34, especially with Hines back. I do see Sharks on the 12. I see a bit of value in that, but I think potentially as well with Hines trying to prove a point, he'll look for that cheeky field goal to make it 13 plus. So don't go the 1 to 12. Maybe go Sharks minus 8.5.
I agree with you there, bro. I got to fall on the back of that. Like, when you think of the Dolphins, like, coming in with Kenny Bromwich and Felice Kafusi, like, we agree. Felice Kafusi is an incredible defender. Like, he played well coming off the bench in Origin too, being activated at 18th man. I thought he had a decent, little moment there, but we've known Felice is like lately playing like 30 minutes a game, like 40 minutes a game. He hasn't been playing like his full 80-minute stint. Obviously getting older. So is Kenny too. Like, these are two older boys there. Obviously the Dolphins getting hammered with India too, off the contract and all that, which we should have touched on, but it is what it is. Anyway, moving on. I think, for me, it's probably going to be a Sharks 13 plus at Shark Park. Yeah, it just seems to be that sort of game. But, the Dolphins have been the team to know that they can like turn up and really make it close. But when you just see the team on paper, like that same Sharks, majority of that Sharks front row took it to the Broncos last week. And that's one of the best forward packs in the competition. Like, it's going to be a really interesting game to see like whether the scoreline does blow out, being, the Dolphins being a top 4 team and all that sort of stuff. So I agree with you there. Next game up, we got the Raiders and the Cowboys at GIO Stadium on Friday. Really interesting to see, you know, the Raiders still in their top 8 at the moment, you know, playing decent football. You got KO Weeks, you know, stepping up in the plate, like who I didn't expect being a great 7 at all. I don't think he's a great 7, but his kicking game's definitely stepped up so far from what I've seen personally in the past with KO Weeks. And also coming up against, you know, a Cowboys team is so fluctuated up and down with their form. You got, you know, just players like, you know, Scotty Drinkwater, Chad Townsend, Tommy Dearden, like, you know, players that can do something out of nothing as well, but they just seem to not lock in for a game in some games. And then other games they do and they blow teams out. Like, it's a weird team to really go with. What's your thoughts overall? Not too many changes here with both these matchups. Obviously, Hudson Young comes back for the Raiders and all that, but is there any edge there for the Cowboys to get over the Raiders at home, or where are you thinking this one?
Yeah, look, I think the Cowboys won the 12. I think they'll be desperate for a win in this Origin period, where it's the week on, where they get all their boys fresh. So they'll be desperate for this win, and I think they will take it. I think it'll be 1-12 because, as you said, they can't play 80. So and Canberra keep coming. So I think it'll be a close one. I'll go Cowboys by 6.
Oh, I like it. I like it. For me, it's tough, man. I could see this going so many different ways. Like if the Cowboys, Reece Robson back in definitely is a major in too for the Cowboys. So I might sway with you there too, bro. I'll probably go Cowboys 1-12 at the Raiders. You know, the Cowboys' form away from Queensland is 4-4 currently right now. Majority, like usually, you know, the Cowboys, as soon as they get away from Queensland, they fall apart. It's always been the rumor around the Cowboys, but they haven't been too bad away from home this season. So I like that look. We're going to go Cowboys 1-12 there, guys. Moving on to the next Friday night game, we got the Rabbits versus the Broncos. Obviously, a major matchup here for both these sides. Like, you know, the Rabbitohs, you know, trying to find their form, you know, double win back to back. They got the Broncos now. This is a real test to see, you know, if they are back. But then the Broncos too, this is a real test for them to get back on the winning side of things. And I'm sure Kevy will be pushing them twice as hard coming into this matchup here. What are you seeing out of both these teams here? Who do you reckon is going to get over the top in this matchup here, bro?
I think there's going to be a lot of points scored, and it will be just whoever can defend the best. You know, there are going to be a lot of points in both these teams. I will actually probably give the attacking advantage to the Rabbits, but we know that their defense has been pretty average as well. So, but for me in Sydney, with what the Rabbits have shown just the last 2 weeks, still no Walsh back, still no Reynolds back, I got to lean towards the Bunnies, especially at $2.38. So for me, I'll be going potentially, you know, Latrell to score to really concrete that Origin jersey, and the Bunnies to win. Probably a close one. I'd say 1-12.
Yeah, if you want that value, the Rabbits are 2. Yeah, the Rabbits are 2, bro. That's not bad. It's not bad. But for me, I'm going to sway the way of the Broncos. I'm thinking this is going to be 1-12 again. I think it's going to be close as, man. Like, I really do. I totally agree with you. I think that if the Broncos have any like premiership ability, like still in their side, I know they're missing Walsh, I know they're missing Reynolds, but we're talking about the forward pack of Jensen, Haas, Biakorta, Ricky, Carrigan, Xavier Wilson's back, obviously, you know, having a baby last week, you know, shout out to him, but even the back line of Dean Mariner, Selwyn Cobbo, Katoni Staggs, like Corey Oates, like there's still players in that team that can, you know, sort things out if Kevy's to put a rocket up him and really get him going. I'm going to go the Broncos 1-12, but I definitely like the value of the Rabbitohs in this one because I think the Rabbitohs are hot to trot at the moment, and Cody Walker playing both sides of the ruck and playing in that 7 jersey opens up a lot of his game. So if you're a Supercoach player out there, guys, Cody Walker, baby, I think he's still at like 550 or something like that. So definitely pick him up for Supercoach. All right, moving on to the first game on the Saturday. We got the West Tigers versus the Titans. The Titans coming back again with their halves pairing of Jaden Campbell and Kieran Foran. I don't love Jaden Campbell at that 6, like defensively, like he's just not there at the 6. Attacking wise, he's a freak. Like I love him there, but it was an interesting move there too. If you saw it last week too, like I felt like they took away from Dave Fafita's game, putting Jaden Campbell outside and not Kieran Foran. Like we've seen Kieran Foran unlock Dave Fafita in moments.
Yeah,
exactly. And when you got Jaden Campbell that likes to play, like, you know, pump off someone, you know, a couple of steps here and there and really take a lot of that time off the ball instead of just giving it to Dave Fafita and letting him just go for it, like it really hampers them. But then you got a Tigers team on the other side of the coin, like they're struggling, bro. And like injury wise, like, You got Api Coruscant playing 7, as we touched on before. You got Alex Lobb, you know, a rookie that's playing his second or third game in the comp currently right now. You know, you still don't have the big boys there of like Papali'i. You know, you're missing a lot of strike there too. So what are your thoughts overall on this matchup here? Who are you swaying towards, the Tigers or the Titans?
Look, let's just say that I'm not mad that this will be the Saturday game that I don't get to watch due to playing myself. There's not a lot that's going to be upset about missing this game if you aren't going to be able to catch this game. But for me, I think David Fifita will have a good game again. He'll be still trying to push for that Queensland jersey. I reckon he took what Billy Slater said personally. I don't like Jaden Campbell at half. But I think you've got to have him in your team. And at the moment, you don't drop Keeney, who's been pretty good. So if he's still a fullback, I didn't actually check the team list for this one.
He is, bro.
Yeah. For me, if you don't have AJ, I think, you play Campbell at half. Just you want him in your team. Yeah, you want him attacking. I don't know how he does defensively, but I also don't think the Tigers have much to throw at him attack-wise to really upset him. So, as I said, this one will be a bit of a yawn fest. So, if you need more beer, run out during this game.
I love that, bro. If I'm thinking off the top of my head, I think Kieran Foran would be defending on the right side. So Samuel Fainu, who's had some really good moments on the edge, I thought like we're probably spot on Jaden Campbell, but he's on the opposite side. So yeah, I agree. Yeah. Like I don't think there's really an option there to really run at Jaden Campbell with the Tigers, especially going off their attacking form lately. So I agree, bro. And this could obviously this could be a possibility for a Titans 13 plus. I really could see it when you got strike players like Khan Pereira, Jaden Campbell, like the way Brian Kelly sets up, Khan Pereira on that side, like
100%.
There could be meaties coming left, right, and center, Barry. Like, so yeah, I'm gonna go Titans 13 plus. I can see that happening. I can definitely see that happening.
I think I feel sorry for
Tigers fans, bro. Hope Clancy's not in the chat, man. Like, keep
he's going to the game, so we'll be screwed on Tuesday if they lose 13 plus.
Dirty, man, dirty. Anyway, moving on to the most important game of the weekend. Obviously, the Warriors versus the Melbourne Storm over there in Auckland. Sold out again, bro. Like, we sold out pretty much majority of our home games, even coming towards the end of the season too. So if you haven't got your tickets to any home games in New Zealand, unfortunately, there's not many tickets going around lately, but in good form currently. Shaun Johnson coming back into that 7 jersey definitely could rearrange a couple of things. Like a lot of people worried that he could take a lot of the shine off Tamade Martin, who's been playing amazing, like out of his skin. I think 7 to 8 try assists in like that 3-game period. I think it could have been more. Pairing back up with the guy that likes to have his hands on the ball a lot more with Shaun Johnson. But then we're playing a Melbourne Storm side that has been hampered with a ton of injury. I know Sua Fa'alongo is like incredible. He's electric and that. But when you look at their side, Tyron Wishard's been good. But you like Dean Romero playing in the center. You got Grant Anderson on the wing. If you even look at their some of their bed, I just think they're really hampered with injury in a lot of their positions there too. What's your thoughts on the sides here? And also remember, you're on a Warriors channel too, my brother. So
yeah. So even more so, I was going to say Melbourne 20 plus. Nah, just kidding. I do really see you guys have a big advantage in the forwards. Melbourne have struggled for the last few years in the forwards, to be honest, especially with Nelson not firing at his best. But also their bench rotation at the moment for Melbourne is not up to speed. They've been doing well to still win games, and as long as you break Xavier Coates' leg, he might come back and kill you this time. So I really do think you guys will get up in this one. I don't know which way it'll go, so I'm just going to go head to head. I don't know. You guys could get away with it late to be a bit of a blowout. But it will be a tough game still, so I think it could be very close. But I will say you'll win by 8. We'll go 8.
I would say, also, bro, I want to give this point to you now too, because I know there's a lot of Warriors fans, a lot of talk about our combinations and stuff like that. I got 2 questions for you. Shaun Johnson at the 7 or Tamade Martin at the 7?
To me, the number doesn't mean anything. To me, the number doesn't mean anything. The roles that they play, it's up to coach how he wants them to play. To me, you shouldn't change Tamare playing too much at first receiver. I think he thrives playing at first receiver there. So maybe when Johnson does swing to that left edge, if you want Johnson to still be that roamer, he maybe goes to that backdoor role, and then you just play him being that fullback in attack and leave Chance attacking down that right edge, and always play Tamare that first receiver on that left edge and the right edge. I think that's worked for the Warriors. I think you don't change that too much. And that's not to say Johnson's not great first receiver, but for me, the older he gets and the more injuries he gets, teams are stopping the threat of Johnson running first. And as a half, that is your biggest weapon. Is he going to run? Is he going to kick? Is he going to pass? At the moment, it's Johnson's going to kick or pass. He doesn't have that deadly running game that he used to have. Tamare has shown that really well, but I think they just should play that traditional left and right side. But yeah, to me, I think the number doesn't mean too much. But I dare say Johnson will come back and take a lot of that leadership back. But I just hope that it goes the way of the Warriors.
Yeah, 100%. And my second question, because I know a lot of Warriors fans will want to listen to this too. Your thoughts on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck? Where's he spot in the side when he comes back off injury next week? He's in the reserves this week. There's a lot of talk that he won't be back this week. He'll be back next week against the Titans. Where would you put him in after seeing him earlier on the season? Where would you put Roger in?
I think you put Roger on that left edge, whether you drop Pompey or you drop Montoya, and that's no shank to those guys. They've been pretty good, in my opinion, in the couple of Warriors games I've got to catch. But you don't leave out someone like Roger, someone with that leadership. Daily M Player of the Year, can kill it on the wing. Just that chat, that energy he brings, the meters he brings. For me, he put him on that left edge, whether it's center or wing. You see how the other guys go. With injury, and depending what you need down in New South Wales Cup, you really do got to take care of your junior system as well. You see what they need, whether they need a centre in Pompey back down there, or if they need a Montoya on the wing back down there. But to me, Roger has to be there.
Yeah, and preferably, like from what you've seen in the season, like do you reckon Roger could make a good centre, or where are your thoughts there on his centre experiment, as what everyone's calling it? Like, do you think Roger's got the ability to play the center at a high click and be up there with, like, for me, a good comparison for me is like, very similar to a Herbie Farnworth. I don't think he'll ever have the draw and pass, like 100% down packed and all that sort of stuff. But, players like Joey Manu, Herbie Farnworth, they get it done with their running game more so. Like, do you reckon he could become a good center? And should we stick at that, or should we just blow it all up and put him on the wing?
I think Roger will get the job done no matter where he plays. He's a class athlete. That's why Union chased him, and that's why he won Daily M before he left. That's why he was the Warriors captain. He will adjust to whatever you put there. I would have really liked to see him play when Johnson was injured and Tamare was getting as much ball as he has been getting, just to see if, maybe it was potentially Tamare that was hindering RTS's attack down that left edge. Because when Tamare was just fixated on that left edge and Johnson had the free roam, Tuivasa didn't see much clean ball. So it's hard to judge where his attack is at. But defensively, he's good enough to be a center. Attack-wise, he eats the meters up. We all know that. It just depends how he's going to go with what system you put on for him, I guess. Again, system on how you want to use that left edge and unlock that left edge. We know the Wars love their right with Dallin. And, well, it's hard not to.
Yeah, guys. And also, if you wanted to see my thoughts overall on this game too, guys, go check it out on our Tuesday night show. I pretty much, was 1-12. I think it's going to be a close contest. I predicted like a 24-20 sort of contest there. I think it's going to be fairly, decent scoring in this one. But I also think it's going to be a little bit of like in the edge of the seat at the end of the game, like the Warriors know how to do, of like, try to get over this hump now of like, we saw it the last game with Xavier Coates getting over on the corner. I think we want to get it done, but we're going to make it really close. I really do feel that. It's just like we're getting over the hump, but we're going to just get over the hump. So, I'll go Warriors 1-12 there, bro. And then our last game for the Saturday, we got the Eels versus the Roosters. A really exciting matchup, I think, in my opinion. I know the Eels were pretty well off it last week, but they made a couple of changes coming into this matchup here. Oh, actually, I think they're pretty similar. Obviously, I don't know. Arcee has dropped out of the side to the 14 jersey. Sean Russell and Blaze Talangi will be the pairing on that side too. That got hampered so badly got killed against the Doggies over the weekend. But, bro, that Roosters right side, Joey Manu.
It doesn't get any easier for them. It does not get easier for them.
Joey Manu and Dominic Young. Yeah. Like, that is a massive test for the Eels on that right side. Where are you thinking in this contest here, bro? I think it could be very high scoring.
I think if you got Joey Manu in your super coach team, captain him. If you don't, buy him and captain him, because honestly, he is going to have a field day. And that's not to say that Russell was any fault of it. I think RC was defending out of position on the weekend, and that's what the Bulldogs really exposed. But I do think that Sean Russell is still out of position. I think he's a winger. So that's going to be interesting. Is Mike Acevo not back?
Mike Acevo is back on the wing.
So he'll be on that left edge.
He'll be on that left edge, yeah. So actually, Blaze Talangi could make the late switch to a centre. He has played centre before, so do think about that as well. But we're putting a young rookie again against Joey Manu.
No, I think if the Roosters start fast, it's going to be a long day for Parramatta and their fans. So I'm going to go Roosters 13+.
Yeah, I'm definitely putting a C on Sammy Walker in that one. I unfortunately don't have Joseph Manu in my super coach, but if I did, yeah, that's a matchup that I can really see going the Roosters' way if they get it all going. You know, shout out to the Eels. Their attack started to get back into where they needed to be and all that. I felt like their effort areas definitely stood up a lot in that game, but you guys, the Roosters are going to really put a hurt on them, especially on 100%. That right edge. I can really see it. The first game on the Sunday, my brother, we got the Seagulls and the Dragons. Again, not too many changes here coming in for, both these sides after the last couple, like last week and that. The Seagulls, coming close against the Panthers last week, but to no avail. Actually performed really well, in my opinion. And then you got the Dragons with a massive win over the weekend. Does the Dragons use that win and springboard themselves into a little bit of a run here? Or do you reckon the Seagulls will just drag them back and say, nah, like we are the better team? People were thinking we were more of a top 8 team comparatively to what everyone thought the wooden spooners of the Dragons, who have definitely changed a lot of people's minds. But where could you see this going? I think it could be a high-scoring affair, in my opinion.
Yeah, it will definitely be a high-scoring affair. I don't know where to put the Dragons. If history is going to repeat itself so far this season, they're going to lose because, they have one good game, one shit game, one good game. We touched them up and then they come out and play the way they did on the weekend. Look, I think Manly's going to, again, they're going to be one of those teams that want to get a win during this origin period. And I think they will show out with Cherry Evans and Oko Kuluatu fit, ready to go. So I think they'll get over the top of the Dragons in this one. And then, the news of Turbo not being too far away. They reckon he'll be back in 2 weeks, I did see. So that's promising news for them as well. So I think I'm going to go Manly, but the odds are telling me 13+, but I think they'll get it done 1-12.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think the Dragons, for me, again, like it's what we alluded to, is like they are such an up and down team. Like, it's good to see that Fleno has like pushed them from, last year they were very disappointing in majority of their games. Like, their effort, Benny Hunt was the main man, obviously, and now that Fleno's come in, you've seen a lot of great performances. Benny Hunt, Zach Lomax, you can name them all. Like they've all stepped up. But I feel like the whole team sometimes is still in that up and down mode at the moment. Like I feel like they're better from last year. I think Shane's still got a couple of things to tinker with to really get him to be a more consistent side. And then you're going with the Seagulls, like the attacking flair that the Seagulls have, like the way they played against the Panthers over the weekend is the way they shift out of their back end. I think it could really move around the Dragons forward pack, and they're a pretty solid big forward pack they got in the middle there. Francis Molo, Jack DeBellin, Luciano Leilua, Jaden Sewer, and Tom Eisenhuth. Like, and even off the bench, like Blake Laurie and all that, these are all massive forwards, and comparatively to
the outside
Nathan
backs,
Brown
brother.
And all that. And the outside backs, bro, like, I can really see they're huge. Moses Sully, Zach Lomax, and he'll always be in the contest and all that. But I can see the Seagulls, especially at home. Like, I can't go against the Seagulls at Four Pines. Like, they're such a good team there. They just got that fortress, bro. They're one of those teams that have a fortress, and it's so hard to get them there. And the last game of the weekend, brother, pretty sure it's the last game. Yeah, I got to get it right. The Knights versus the Panthers, and this is at McDonald Jones Stadium. Hey, could you see an opportunity here for the Knights to do it, or the Panthers just going to continue doing Panthers things?
Look, I think the Knights don't have enough points in them, especially against a heavy defensive team like the Panthers. So even if they were to win that game, it would have to be something like an 8-6 scoreline or something like that. To me, for a team like the Knights to beat the Panthers without the players that they're missing, it will have to be a lot to go their way. Maybe a couple of sin bins to the Panthers. But I think the Panthers take that one pretty comfortably. I'm going to say Panthers 18 plus.
Yeah. Key matchups here too, guys. I'm really excited to see Bradden Best. He will be on that, Knights left side, and it's on the worst side of the Panthers. Not saying they're going to have their leg up there, but Braddy Best obviously coming back and wanting to play for a Blues jersey. He's definitely one for me to watch. I thought Dane Gagai had a great game last week for the Knights as well. He's been incredible this year. He's definitely not got his Origin jersey back, but he's still playing amazing, man. Like, he's still playing great footy, in my opinion. But again, I got to go with you, bro. Like, you seeing what Brian Toto did last week, add another 10 tackle breaks to his tally there of I think he's cracked the 100 tackle breaks already this season. The amount of tries he's scoring, he's in incredible form, bro. And honestly could go down as one of the greatest wingers we've ever seen. And, he's not. Yeah, he's not Carl Felt, bro. If you don't know the story to that, guys, I did do a video on Brian Toto and where he ranked or whatever, what your thoughts are with Brian Toto. And I had a guy on TikTok say that he would rather Carl Felt over Brian Toto. So good to see Cowboys fans have a little bit of positivity still in their club. But, bro, there is no way. There is no way. So we're both going, Panthers 13 plus here, you reckon?
100%, brother. 100%.
100%. All right. And probably the most exciting part of the show, guys, is our bets for the weekend. As I said, I brought on the man, the punter that I know, one of the better punters I know, Brody. What have you got this weekend? What's your value this weekend, my brother?
Oh, look, I really, the way I set my punting up now, obviously, I've dialed back a lot. But with Sportsbet offering the any leg fail on the Thursday, Friday night games, mate, it's a no-brainer to really focus on those ones. You get a free bet, get your bonus bet back, then you can bet on the other games. That's how I like to structure mine now. I do gamble responsibly. But for my first game with the Sharks, I've got the Sharks. Ronaldo has only scored one try in his last 7 games, so I'm looking for him to snag one, especially with Hines back. Trindle can go back to focusing just on his left edge and get him some good, clean ball. So expect Ronaldo to score one, and I reckon Niokora will score one on that right edge with that reshuffle to that back row for the Dolphins and moving their old back rows into their front row. So I don't think Wayne Bennett's a dumb man, but I really think with Hines back, he'll hit Niokora on that short ball. So I've got Sharks, Ronaldo, and Niokora anytime. That's 775. That's great odds for me, especially with the whole one leg fail, money back. So have you got anything on that game?
I have nothing on that game, but someone like Britton Accorda, bro, I've been chasing him all year. He's definitely not had his better year. This year, I got him in Supercoach too, and I just want to see him flourish. He had a better game last week against the Broncos, but I think with Nico Hines there, just playing that short ball and having that pivot in that attack there, just him hitting short ball there, I can see him crashing over and hopefully, getting back. I'll probably put him on now, bro. I got to do, I've been chasing him for how many weeks? Same with Jeremy Marshall-King. I bet you Jeremy Marshall-King scores this weekend too. So, but yeah, I really do like that bet.
Brother.
It's always the way, man. It sucks so much. We talk about it all the time, bro. It's it sucks so much. It's Katoni Staggs is another one I always hear. Katoni Staggs is one that you just never can get on and never get it right. But yeah, Britton Accorda for me is one of those for sure. Any other value bets you got for this weekend, my brother?
Yeah. The Cowboys 1-12. We touched on it. I think Cowboys 1-12 with Scotty Drinkwater anytime, and that's paying $7. I think that's also really good value again on that Friday night. With the any leg fail, get your money back. So I think that's a good odd one, potentially to jump on.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. The wheeling dealing of Scotty Drinkwater, bro, playing on the edge and that, he can cut apart, those Raiders defensive system and stuff like that on the edge.
Yeah.
For me on that game, yeah, for me on that game, I looked at players. I thought Sebastian Chris, I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, he is someone. I think he'll be coming up against Valentine Holmes. Oh no. He'd be coming up against, William Ivalia on that edge. And Villi, historically, being a Warriors fan, I think the one part of his game he needs to grow at, well, 2 parts, obviously, is errors and discipline, but also defensives, defensive reads of William Ivalia. So having Sebastian Chris in that center role back, big body, if the Raiders with Ethan Strange can use him to full ability, I think there's an opportunity there. but I do like the sound of your multi there. So maybe you could add that up to juice up your multi with Sebastian Chris. I think he was at $3 last time I checked as well.
That's great odds.
But he definitely could read in. Yeah,
the Cowboys do leak a lot of points. Yeah,
they do. And you could even look at maybe Matty Tomoko. I think Matty Tomoko has gotten short, but Valentine Holmes, bro, he's having a very weird defensive season. Like he's so up and down at the moment. Yeah, he's starting to get found out. I think ever since that Stafford Toll game last year against the Tigers, we're starting to really key in on a little bit of Valentine Holmes' defensive game, and it's not been completely solid. Sometimes he just can be a little bit off. So Matty Tomoko could be another one you could look at if you're looking at the Raiders way too, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other bets for the weekend, my brother?
Oh, well, Pav, Hammer, Iro, and Rudolph, mate, that's a multi that's going to pay off your mortgage. Jesus Christ. But I like it. Hey, anything can happen. Pav is a sneaky one, for sure. And Rudolph, well, he does love a meat pie. So, but the last one I'll finish on is the other Friday night game, which is the Broncos-Rabbits. And I think this one is probably my best odds one. Again, with the any leg fail money back, I've got Latrell, Rabbits head-to-head, and Pierre Cora to crash over. That's paying $17.
I like that a lot. So, $17. Can't go away from that, bro. Tans, let us know what your odds are for Plath, Hammer, Iro, and Rudolph, and comparatively to that bet that we've thrown up there. But man, great odds there. Obviously, Latrell Mitchell in great form. I'm sure he just wants to step up again to really prove his point, being in Origin Arena and all that sort of stuff. And then like Brendan Piacotta, I rate him highly, bro. I reckon his line running's up there for such a young player in the competition. I've heard a lot about him for, playing at North. So I know my missus' cousin played with him at North there, and he had so big raps over him. He was like, he's incredible. And when I first saw him, I was like, I can see it. So the Broncos definitely got someone there to build for the future. And he made the Origin squad this year too. So definitely could take a step up. And he's probably learned a couple of things from that Origin squad. So it could be really interesting to see how his game evolves there too. So really like your multis for the weekend there, my brother. Hopefully they hit for everyone out there. But thank you so much again for our first episode of Down Unders, guys. Appreciate every single one of you guys coming through. 71 viewers currently right now watching this. It's been amazing. Brody, thank you so much. You've been amazing, brother. Like, I can't wait to have you on weekly and just continue to grow the show. I think there's going to be a couple of more segments I do want to add to the show, and we'll bounce off each other and that. But I think this is a really good introductory, episode for Down Unders, guys, and see what you can get through me and Brody, and a couple of little value bets there that I'm sure Brody hits, man. Brody can hit, bro. So get on your bets for the weekend. But appreciate you so much, my bro. Thank you so much for coming through. Any last thoughts overall for the weekend? Anything going on in your life currently right now, bro?
Nah, brother, I appreciate you having me. And just same old, work, footy, me, you see me every day. Just your usual, brother, enjoying family time. And that's the main thing, eh? You got to find that work-life balance. And that's to everybody out there. We all love footy. It's our probably little getaway from work and what we enjoy to do in our downtime. But just enjoy it while it's here. We all know how sad it is when it's off season of footy and you got to look at something like the bloody cricket. So really just enjoy it while it's here, boys, even if it is a Titans and Tigers game. But we'll leave it there, all right? But I appreciate you having me, and appreciate everybody in the comments. You guys have been great, eh?
Thank you so much, bro. And Jose, mid-season review next week. Brother, what do you reckon? I reckon that'll be a pretty cool little topic to go through each and every team and give you a report card on them. I reckon that'll be pretty cool to look at. So we're looking to do maybe doing that next week. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
It's really great.
Make sure, guys, if you missed any part of the show tonight, you can rewatch it on Wise Up TV or Ash Thomas on YouTube. Obviously, YouTube allows you to rewatch the shows after, and feel free to comment down below any feedback on the show so we can continue to grow. I can't wait to really grow the show out. As I said, like, me and Brody got some big plans of, I do want to make like some sort of a studio and that where we can do this live between the two of us, where we can bounce off each other a lot better and that. But we did amazing, I thought, bro. You did amazing on the show. So thank you so much, guys. Please make sure you comment down below your thoughts overall on the tips for the weekend. And if you get up on the weekend, shout us out, send us your bet slip or whatever. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Yeah, we'll get on together. But thank you so much, guys. Hope you enjoyed Down Unders episode number 1 over and done with. Have a good weekend. Let's go. Up the Warriors, baby.